Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and Mazel Tov, Lucas, and Yasher Koach, Jack, and Lisa, and our condolences to you, Lisa, and your family. Yasher Kochech, Lindy, our Torah and Haftarah readers, everyone. Lucas, we're so proud of you. And these are still strange days, but we're able to overcome them with simcha and community and connection. This week's parsha, Shlach Lecha, is the dramatic story of espionage and aspiration for returning to the land of our ancestors. After more than 400 years of bondage in Egypt, the Israelites anticipate returning home again. They are so close now, right on the edge. But because of some unknown sin, or some slander, or some self-doubt, or some kind of rebellion against God, against Moses, or some kind of rebellion or doubt even against God, they are bound to wander for decades until the generation which knew Egypt will die out, and only a new generation born in the wilderness will be blessed with the chance to enter the land of promise. It is written, Moses sent them to scout out the land of Canaan. He said to them, go up there into the Negev and on into the hill country and see what kind of country it is. Are the people who dwell in it strong or weak? Are they few or many? Is the country in which they dwell good or bad? Are the towns they live in open or fortified? Is the soil rich or poor? Is it wooded or not? And take pains to bring back some of the fruit of that land. At the end of the 40 days of scouting, they returned and went straight to Moses and Aaron, and the scouts made their report in front of the whole community. They showed them the fruits of the land, and they said, we came to the land you sent us to, and it does indeed flow with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. However, Ephes, the people who inhabit the country are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the Anakites there. With these few words, fear was struck throughout the people. And fear became the driving, the leading emotion, the winning emotion of the moment, until a champion of our Hebrew Bible stepped forward, a favorite character of mine. Caleb hushed the people, Vayahas Kalev et ha'am, and he said, Alo na'aleh, let us by all means go up, and we shall gain possession of it, for we shall surely overcome it. Now, I fear that many Jews today in synagogues throughout the lands will read this parsha and find biblical proof text for annexation. Alo na'aleh can all too easily be misheard as a battle cry to conquer, to dominate, to occupy. But I believe that is not what our hero Caleb meant when he hushed and calmed the people. Alo na'aleh, we shall surely ascend, not in battle, for Caleb was not a warrior. Joshua was the military man. Joshua was the military strategist. But he is quiet here. Caleb is the one who speaks. He is known for his faith in God. He is known for his loyalty to his ancestors buried in Hebron. He is known for his power of speech and rhetoric, not of the sword. Moses did not have the power of speech, and so Caleb stepped in on his behalf. Vayomer alo na'aleh. In just 8 words, he speaks right to the heart of the people. He speaks not from fear, but from an elevated place of the spirit. Because about him, we are told, there was a ruach acheret, another kind of spirit. I believe our reform movement is striving to tap into that ruach acheret, when just 2 days ago it released a resolution urging the Israeli government not to carry out unilateral West Bank annexation. The document begins, as a proud Zionist movement, we hold the value of Ahavat Yisrael, love for the people, the land, and the state of Israel as core to who we are as Jews. Our abiding commitment to the security of Israel, to the special relationship between Israel and both the US and Canada, to the Jewish and democratic character of the state of Israel, and to the importance of Jewish values in shaping our policies and priorities. These lead us to express our alarm at the possible unilateral annexation by Israel of areas of the West Bank. I urge everyone to read this document in full, but I'll highlight some of the reasons and the rationale articulated for it now. 1, annexation would have a deleterious impact on the Palestinian people. Annexation may place yet more Palestinians under direct Israeli control while denying them full citizenship rights. 2, annexation is seen by Palestinians as Israel's repudiation of the two-state solution. As the diplomatic path closes, frustration and despair within the Palestinian community will lead many to abandon faith in the diplomatic approach toward securing their rights, likely enhancing the status of Hamas and other extremist groups who argue that the only unilateral Palestinian steps to be taken, including the use of violence, will lead to a viable Palestinian state. 3, annexation creates significant diplomatic risks for Israel. It risks making Israel a pariah in growing segments of the international community. Annexation also risks undercutting the improved relations between Israel and some of the Arab nations in the region. Annexation would also provide fodder for those who advocate for boycotts, divestments, and sanctions toward Israel. That is the BDS movement. Number 4, annexation jeopardizes Israel's security. Throughout nearly 3 decades, cooperation between Israeli and Palestinian Authority security forces has thwarted hundreds of terrorist attacks and made life in Israel safer. Annexation would significantly weaken the PA, reducing or even ending security cooperation and further stressing Israeli security forces. Number 5, annexation jeopardizes North American strategic interests and political support for Israel. The bipartisan and cross-party support that Israel has enjoyed for decades in the United States and Canada would be damaged by divisions over Israel's annexation policy. Number 6, annexation will deepen the divide between Israel and North American Jewry. The ties between Jews worldwide, particularly younger Jews, and the Jewish state are strained by 2 decades of policies that have dimmed the possibilities of a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, expanded settlements, and rejected the full rights of the non-Orthodox streams in Israel, including the Reform movement. Because the deep abiding passion of Zionism is rooted in the dream of Israel as embodied in the democratic values of the Declaration of Independence, the more Israel undercuts those values, the more damage it does to Klal Yisrael, to the totality of the Jewish people, and to the urgent need of repairing relations between Israel and world Jewry. So again, these are just highlights, and I urge you to study the document for yourselves. In the 8 calls to action that follow, the therefore section, the Union for Reform Judaism and the Central Conference of American Rabbis resolved to, number 1 is oppose any unilateral annexation by Israel's government of parts of the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, Area C, and acknowledge that refraining from such action reflects Israel's commitment to its future as a Jewish and democratic state. Now, I agree with so much of this document. but I want to lift up one section, one word that actually breaks my heart a little bit. And it has nothing to do with annexation, actually. It has to do with the Jewish people and the strength and the unity of the Jewish people. One of the calls to action, number 6, says that we call Israel's supporters in the US Congress and Canadian Parliament, past and present, to speak out against annexation and to clearly highlight its dangers for the US, Canada, and Israel. Again, I agree with so much of this resolution, but this one call to action concerns me deeply because of what it might reveal about the current state of the relationship between Israel and diaspora Jewry. It is a very rare moment in Jewish history when one circle of Jews goes to its government and asks that the government rule one way or another in how it treats another circle of Jews. One example that comes to my mind is when the Jewish leadership of the established Jewish leadership, the empowered Jewish leadership of Westphalia, lobbied its government to reform Jewish communities, which were gaining steam then. I want Jews to be able to talk to fellow Jews directly, even when it's hard. We ought to be able to speak freely and clearly with passion and conviction to the Israeli consuls general, to the Israeli ambassadors, to Netanyahu himself, to the Israeli public itself. Let us fill their newspapers with op-eds so they know how we feel and how we fear. But to actively lobby Canadian and US governments to oppose the Israeli government on anything, no matter how wrong, is not the way I choose to view Jewish peoplehood. We should not have to talk to one another through a third party for a number of reasons, including, I believe, political strategy, which is not my world, by the way, but most importantly and simply because we are family. And families have to be able to speak their truths to one another and to be heard, no matter how hard it is to say the hard things, no matter how hard it is to hear the hard things. Now, we are so blessed to live in a time when Jews have two true homes, one in the state of Israel and one here in North America. These two centers of Jewish life are vibrant and strong and enjoy remarkable comfort and influence beyond our ancestors' wildest dreams. It is a rare and precious moment in the 4,000 years of history of our people that we have two true homes. But perhaps we don't yet know how to handle this. Having two homes seems to be pulling the Jewish people apart in worrying ways. So we need to pay careful attention, and we need to reinforce the bridges from here to there in every way that we can. The fact that it seems so natural for North American Jewry to feel comfortable and even empowered to approach our own governments is evidence of just how at home we are in this good and democratic country. What must come just as naturally is for us to speak to the governments of Israel, and yes, to be heard. What do we learn from Caleb, who spoke both with confidence and with humility in the same voice, in the same moment? Alo na'aleh, he said, let us surely ascend. God said of him, my servant Caleb, because he was imbued with a ruach acheret, with a different kind of spirit, and remained loyal to me, him I will bring into the land that he entered, and his offspring shall hold it as a possession. So what is this ruach acheret? Rashi teaches us by drawing from the earlier sages quoted in Midrash Tanchuma that Caleb had an additional spirit. He had two spirits, one in his mouth, which gave voice to his speech, and one in his heart, where he knew what his inner intentions would be, and he would hold fast to them, and his speech would be driven by those intentions of the heart. It is this that is alluded to in the book of Joshua, where it is stated that Caleb said, I brought Moses' word again as it was in my heart, but not as it was in my mouth. The secret of Caleb's strength of character was this double ruach, one spirit to give voice and one spirit of the heart, and he knew how and when to bring them together. These two spirits brought together for the good, for the collective good. And this is why he was rewarded. God rewarded him with the rare blessing of living long enough to have known life both in Israel and living both in the land of Egypt and in the land of Israel. May we too, Jews of the diaspora and Jews of the state of Israel, strive to acquire a ruach acheret, this double spirit of speech and heart. Let us use it to turn always towards one another with unbreakable bonds of love. And let us use it also to turn to one another so that we might remind one another with confidence, yes, and with humility, yes, that we must take this double spirit to pursue justice and peace, to pursue compassion and patience. Alo na'aleh. Let us ascend above fear and pain. Alo na'aleh. Let us elevate one another to fulfill God's mission of being a light unto the nations. Amen.